brothers and sisters and friends. This afternoon we want to talk about the ballot or the bullet. The ballot or the bullet explains itself. We have a fight that's common to all of us. We suffer political oppression, economic exploitation, and social degradation. Today it's time to stop singing and start swinging.
Hey. We're back. Man, what a trip to be in here during the middle of the day.
Hey, folks coming on through. Can't hear anything.
All right, how about now?
Yeah.
Okay. And hey, man, don't give me no afternoons. I like mornings. And furthermore, Brother Terrell McKinney's in the chat as well. Senator McKinney, Senator Spivey, how are y'all doing today? Thank you for joining us.
Doing good. How y'all doing?
Doing all right.
Discombobulated, bro. It's 4:00. I don't know what's happening. I'm usually taking
morning people.
I mean, not really. It's
really?
we just gotten so used to it that I don't know. It's siesta time right now for me, so
Yeah.
taking a nap right after this. But appreciate you guys coming on. How y'all feeling around this time of the day? Are you guys like me and ready to take a little siesta?
A nap would be fine.
Yeah, I feel that. Where you at, buddy? How you feeling over there?
Yeah, I definitely kind of feeling the nap is just around that time where I'm trying to, power up for the evening, my evening activities, get ready to get to the studio here soon. But I am looking forward to this. This is something special, something different. But Paul and I, we always talk about just what would it be like if we did things on a different time of day, and just how would people respond, and just doing things differently, So a little experimentation is always fun. I see the people coming into the chat, so people joining us as well. Good afternoon, y'all. How's it going?
Yeah, I can already tell you, I don't like it. We can go back to the mornings. But yes,
Session rap was afternoon, but otherwise we was rocking with y'all every early morning.
you were rain or shine, in the car, in the front, in the session, everywhere. You guys was really hanging with us. We really appreciate that too, and I'm so happy that you suggested to do this special show today. After the whole session has wrapped and everything is going on like it has, so we'll start there. It's a wrap session finally. Did you guys have to go up today at all? You guys have to do stuff today? Okay,
No, we
good.
finished last Monday.
Hey,
What's up, Asa?
He said, I want to say hi. I've been telling him to be quiet over here with his dad, and so now he's telling me to shush because I'm talking to y'all.
how about you? As far as you, Senator Spivey, just juggling, motherhood, running the organization, and now your first time as a senator. How was that?
Oh, it was hard. I underestimated what that would be like.
Really?
And so I think with older kids, it's a little bit easier, right? They're a little bit more independent. So my 11-year-old, doesn't need me as much as this little bubby. And so I think that was hard, but I will say having a good support system makes all the difference. So between my husband and my friends and like folks just like making sure I'm okay. I had a couple friends gift me errands that they would do. So like they would run errands for me because I'm not here in the same way. And so it took a village, literally. It literally takes a village. And so I'm really thankful for mine.
That's a great idea. I love that. Yeah. That's what's up.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm grown. I can buy my own stuff, but like to go run an errand for me, yes. Because when I'm leaving from session, everything is closed. I was there from 9 to 9,
Right.
like making sure that I like to do the grocery shopping at home. So like things that I still like to contribute to my house, my friends and my village ensure that I could still do that. And then, like I said, my husband took a big load with the kids and just making sure he picked up my slack with trying to be down there. So
that's what's up.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's good to hear. It's good to hear that everybody kicked in to help during your first session. I remember your session, Senator McKinney, your first time around too. I remember you telling us about how that was definitely different. Things that you don't anticipate happens there. Them late nights, I didn't realize that the late nights happen so much. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But you guys are plugged on through. So where are you at with this? You're on your second go around, Senator McKinney.
Yeah, it's my second term, my 5th year. So I'm
You may have a third term you can do if the ballot, if it gets passed by voters. So a bill is going to be on or a bill was passed to put it to the voters in 2026, right, for interim.
Yep.
Mm.
But then there could be 12 years, not 8 years.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay.
You don't look like you too enthused about that, huh, bro?
Yeah.
He's like, I
I'm
had
not. I'm not running again.
feel you. I was going to ask about that because this time around came around, we know Senator Chambers ran again, and I was like, he ran, he was senator before, so you take a couple years off and be able to run again, or how does that work? I guess it changes up every year, huh?
Yeah, right now you take once your term limited, you take 4 years off and you can come back.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Interesting.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But you kind of feeling like this is ran its course. Your eyes looking at something else, or
I'm definitely not looking at no other elected position. I'm really
okay.
just feel like, I signed up to do this job, and once I'm done doing the job, I'll move on to something else.
Man.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Got to start thinking of succession planning already. Already. Um, I
Yeah.
will say, looking back, do you feel like you're getting as much accomplished? And what do you have? One more session left?
No, I got 3 years left.
Okay.
As
Okay.
far as
Okay.
you said getting things accomplished, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought about it the other day. Like I've actually got a lot of things accomplished. Like this year's been rough, but I still got my priority bill passed. I still got 3 or 4 or 5 bills passed. So I mean, it's rough when you in it, and it's frustrating dealing with people down there. But when I think about a lot of the stuff that I've done so far, like I've gotten a lot of things passed. So
That's
I
what's
can't
up.
complain about it all.
Well,
Yeah.
let's go through some of
Yeah.
it. I kind of want to hear about the good stuff first of all. First of all, we got some people in the chat. It looks like some folks from the morning time too. I appreciate you guys
Yeah.
coming in. Larry Keister, happy marvelous Monday. Tamika Johnson gives us some sunshine. It's a little hot outside. Marianne Williams says, "Hey, hey, twice in one day, love it."
Hey.
Sue Kessler Hagen says, "Hi, everyone." Stacey Jean says, "Definitely my nap time. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
siesta time for real." And Paul Filmer says, "What's plan on Omaha poverty reduction plan?" We'll hear
Okay.
about that in a second. I see Miss Helen says, so this is a new name here. LB69, the Black Bill. Haven't heard of that. You guys ever
Yeah.
know what LB69 is?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's get into it in a second. But I did want to talk about the wins, like Paul mentioned, and
yeah.
you specifically talked about your priority bill, Senator McKinney. I know you got that LB 48 passed. Kind of going along for those of you who caught our morning conversation, kind of ended that conversation on what we can do, and supporting those who are having their boots to the roots. And your bill kind of goes a long way towards that, as far as the family resource centers around the clock. What is this bill as it stands now? What would that look like? Those family resource centers, and when can we expect to see those actually start opening up?
So it did have an emergency clause on it, but my colleagues don't really like me, so they
Mm,
made sure that the bill wouldn't go into effect right away. So the bill actually won't go into effect until September, but I'll be doing, some outreach to DHHS to talk about, their plan for implementation, and as far as like making sure like people can apply for the designations. But once it's law, essentially, people will be able to apply to DHHS for a designation as a family resource center. And if they do get the designation, they would be able to get, up to 500K with 10% for like administrative fees and run a center in Omaha.
Okay.
okay, so this
Yeah.
is This is state funds that goes to a facility or organization for them to render the services. This doesn't go directly to families.
No. The Family Resource Center will be in charge of connecting families to resources, making sure they get, like they connecting them to different partners and collaborators. It's really trying to centralize the the resources and the services into one place. So people and families don't feel like they gotta go all around Omaha to get like different questions answered. Like, like I need clothes for my kids, but I also need help with, getting access to a job or applying for jobs. Just trying to put it in one space, or at least have a space where those questions can be answered and people don't feel like they're overwhelmed, and our youth can have a place to get, questions answered as well about the things they feel like they need to.
Okay. And are the criteria for what families would be eligible for this, is that set by the resource centers or is that state mandated?
The criteria for the families,
Yeah, like who would be eligible? That's solely up to the organizations themselves.
yeah, but the way I foresee it, like any family in need of resources is eligible. I don't,
Okay.
it shouldn't, there shouldn't be a barrier. That's the point of the bill.
Hmm.
Like, you shouldn't, that's what I hate about some of the services. Like, you gotta you gotta check all these boxes. And it's like, ain't you supposed to be helping people? Like, why do I need to walk in with a social security card or an ID? Why can't you just help me?
Okay.
So, yeah,
I mean, that sounds good, but don't. But some of the organizations that'll be handing out these services, they gonna definitely gonna have their criteria on who can and who can't have it, right?
I mean, technically yes, but I'm gonna do my best to talk to those organizations that apply and might potentially get, a designation, and let them know like the legislative intent was clear, that this is for families to help them get access to resources. It wasn't to create another barrier to resources.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Right.
we've seen you try to impose the what was the intent of bills on other people that didn't want to go along with you on it. So, but we also seen you fight for that, just like with the DED and everywhere else. So I know that you'll continue to do that. Is DHHS they're going to get a part of this, or they're just a pass through, or
They're just a pass through. They want no parts of running a family resource center. They're just giving the designation.
interesting?
That was part of the last amendment on the bill. The governor's people came to me like, hey, can you make this amendment on the bill that says DHHS doesn't shall have to run a family resource center program? Can you just say they're giving the designation? And I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, I just want to help people.
Yeah, probably for the best.
Nice. Right.
And
Right. Right.
and it's probably better that their hands ain't completely
Yeah.
on it anyway, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're not gonna get into to the whole DHHS conversation, but we kind of know what that's about. So but also in the per the bill, there's two centers that will come out of this.
Yeah, so there'll be two centers in a city in Omaha.
Is there any language that dictates where they would have to be? Like, will these be in North Omaha, South Omaha, or is it like a zip code?
Uh, yes and no. There's not like direct language that says they have to be like in specific areas, but there's language in there that basically, if you ain't working in North and South Omaha, then you more than likely are not going to get the designation because you're not working with the population that the bill is intended to help.
Okay. And
Yeah.
excuse me if this I maybe could have read through the bill a little closely. But this is specifically for Omaha, right? This is not a statewide bill.
Nope, it's specifically for Omaha.
Okay. Okay.
That
All right.
works.
Well, yeah. I mean, it definitely sounds like the intent is clear as you mentioned. Hopefully, as Paul mentioned, we don't have a similar situation with previous bills that you passed in the DED. Hopefully, DHHS can do right by this bill and the families that may be impacted by it. Senator Spivey, what are your thoughts on this bill as someone who kind of works closely with families? in your other work per se?
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea. And I think it really came at a time when there was a conversation around LB 530, which had some of the juvenile criminalization pieces in there. And we were talking about like services and getting ahead. Here, Daddy will do it. Getting ahead of some of those things. And so I think this bill helps to address some of that, and it gives a good opportunity for it to be a pilot, to like figure that out so it can be evidence-based. HHS can look at it, because they do, even though they don't want to be hands-on, they have a responsibility for a lot of these kids that are in child welfare that are system impacted. And so I'm hoping that this shows that there are preventative structures that allow for our kids to be successful. And when families have resources, and you don't have to have a punitive consequence related to some sort of law violation or something that happens, like you can use these things to go upstream. And so I think it was kind of serendipitous in that way, like that it was a lot of hard conversations happening in this past. And so I'm hopeful that, the data that comes out of this and what we learn will help to influence future legislation.
Yeah, possible expansion in the future of this to, maybe 3-4 resource centers.
Yeah, it's possible. Within the bill, there's data tracking and reporting mechanisms within it to like measure impact and make sure like the resources are going to the right thing. So it's not like it came up a lot during the debate, like, oh, isn't there like all these nonprofits in Omaha and those type of things? Can't they just do it? And I just kept saying, no, we don't have nothing like this. And then they were like, well, somebody's just going to get money and just do whatever. I was like, no, they're not. Because if you the problem with people in the legislature, they don't read bills. So I was like, if you actually read the bill, you would see that, you have to track the data, you have to measure impact, you have to measure all these things. And DHHS is also going to have to track what they're doing and report out to the legislature, like what's going on. So at the end of this pilot, we'll have data that could show whether it worked or it didn't.
Well, and I think too, the other piece to that is a lot of the experience in the legislature is not in the social sector. So we're like Senator McKinney and I work in community-based, nonprofits and environments. We're running agencies that are centered on the humanity of people. Folks are bankers, they're lawyers, they are not, they're oil attorneys. They started ethanol plants, like it's a very different world and perspective. And so I think, legislation and policy specifically at the state level can be weaponized against our communities or used to address core root issues. And I think this is an opportunity to show, how do we start to think about what's impacting our community from a comprehensive approach? And while, the services are not necessarily like the core root issue of why people are needing the services, it's an important part of the ecosystem for us to be able to talk about and demonstrate, so that we can continue to push then other policies that really address why our families and our communities are even seeing this. And so I'm hopeful that more of these things will continue to pass. And so we can continue to also to educate our colleagues, because a lot of folks don't know, or they don't want to know. That verdict is still out, but the knowledge and is just not there.
Yeah, this is definitely huge. This is just in my own observation. Anytime, especially talk about mental health, it seems like, especially young folk have to go through the juvenile system, have to have a case, have to already be on the wrong path to really get the need or the help that they need to avoid even getting on the path to begin with. Right. So hopefully, this does what the intent is. Paul, you got something you want to jump in?
I was just wondering where you got where did you get the idea for this bill, Senator McKinney? Who did you? Was it something that's been in your head this whole time, or did you have talked to folks that felt like this would work in other places, and how'd you come to it?
I had went to a conference in, I think, Tampa for this organization, NCSL, and I sat through this session and they were talking about this because Nevada has had this same type of program, but it's actually ran by their state, and they were just talking about it. And I was like, that makes sense. We should have family resource centers spread across our community so people get access to services. So I introduced a bill, I think in 2022 or 23. It didn't go nowhere because DHHS smacked a big fiscal note on it. And like all my bills, people act like they don't comprehend. So before I got back this session, I was like, I want to reintroduce that bill. And I wanted to reintroduce it because I knew they were going to come in this session and try to do all this stuff on like juveniles and raise penalties on juveniles. So it's like, I have to have some type of counter to this argument to say, no, we could just do that. And that's why I reintroduced it the way I did.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's some
Timing.
some strategy there. I also like the fact that you saw it somewhere else. We're all about solutions journalism here on this show, and that's you going to see something somewhere else, and if it works there, bring it back here and see if it works here. So, yeah, I'm pretty encouraged by that, and I love the idea of supporting families because that's we always are talking about the kid that's in trouble or the individual or whatever, but it's always family support that's really needed. So you guys have been champions of that for sure.
Yeah,
Appreciate
big time,
that.
big time. Pivoting a little bit, Senator Spivey. What was your priority bill, and how did you
Yeah.
fare?
Well, it was a tough road. So my priority bill is technically still alive in committee. It's LB
Okay.
440, which was an education committee, and it provided 6 weeks of paid family medical leave to teachers. And so the teachers paid into it and the districts. So it's such a long story, and I don't want to bore y'all. So my bill got amended into a education package, and I will say that, like as people think about, like in trying to understand the legislature, committee and committee assignments and the chairs are so important. So like when we talk about sending people to the ledge, it's not just, hey, everyone, we're unicameral, but these committees is where a lot of the work happens, where bills are pushed to the floor. And some of our committees, in my opinion, do not have a strong makeup or understanding or leadership around that issue. Okay. So in the education committee, there were 2 packages. One that was like really terrible, like culture war policy that did not continue to go forward. And then there was a second package that my bill was placed into. So my bill shouldn't have been placed in that package because it had the votes to get out of committee. And it was a priority, which means it had a vehicle on the floor if it would pass, because it has to have a vehicle. But they held my bill hostage in this package that included some not so terrible bills, that some things we could live with, and then like some things it's like, no, you can't do that. And so I had a senator specifically who said that he wanted to teach me a lesson and try to remove my priority bill from the package. It did not get removed. However, another bill that was in the package that some folks wanted was successful to be removed, which means that then they wanted to kill my bill because this other bill from the Republican side did not make it through. And so because my bill was an amendment, it was in a different type of structure than how it is still in committee. And so my bill did not move forward from select. And so that amendment died. However, my bill is still alive. And so in the interim, I'm working with the superintendents and the teachers around like mobilizing around this and making sure people understand the bill, doing a lot of work with the teachers union. And then I'll ask the education committee to exec on it once we are back in session. So.
Okay.
That whole story the paternalism.
And I cut out a lot of details because I'm like, how do I talk about this? You need to know this. And I mean, literally, I was cussing every day to Senator McKinney, like, can you believe what they doing? And he was like, they shouldn't be doing that. I'm like, I know. And so, but here we are, and it's okay.
We're gonna get to that part of the conversation. I need to hear the nitty of the gritty on a couple of things.
Listen, I'm just feeling like my face is not all frowned up, and I don't have stress and tension in my neck. So, but I think, and just again, like being a freshman senator, like as a lobbyist, it's just very different. So, like Senator McKinney, when I was a lobbyist, put in most of my bills, and we got some things passed. And I did not understand like all of the work that he was doing, because it is a lot of floor strategy that you have to learn. And so, I mean, introducing the bill is easy. I spent most of my time talking to people who would then lie to your face, and you got to follow up because they lied and then would change. I mean, like it is a lot of work because colleagues are not honoring some of the traditions and norms of the institution, where your word is your bond. And so that was not the case this session. A lot of people flat out lied on the record, changed, even if you had a receipt. And so it's a unfortunate part, but just something you have to navigate to be successful. So I feel like I I have a better understanding of what does that look like. And so I can be more intentional next session.
There you go, Paul. I know you'd have been, man. Paul have been choking people out.
Brother, there'd be some furniture moving around there. That's why I can't do it.
Man.
I appreciate you guys in the chat too. I definitely want to give the chat a little minute here. Marianne Williams says LR 171. Not sure which one that is. She says I know it's stick in the committee this year, but it's incredibly important. LR 171. You guys know what that one is?
Is that your LR?
Yes, mine. It deals with examining the cliff effect with people, receiving public assistance for like programs like SNAP. It's not, well, I introduced it at the end of the session. I just have to push Senator Hardin to schedule a hearing sometime in the interim. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's about the cliff effect.
Okay,
that's interesting. Actually, learned about that speaking with Amy Holmes from Heart Ministry Centers. Remember that conversation, Paul? And she kind of broke it down for those who aren't familiar with the cliff effect. Basically, individuals, families who make too much money to get the services and to get some of the help and get some of the things that are available to families in low income, but don't make enough money to actually pay for the things that they need. So it's kind of that gray area where they find themselves in limbo, and having to swim and navigate through all the red tape and things like that, which a lot of families find themselves in that. I actually found myself in that when I first moved here. Yeah, we
ready to say I'm in it right now. I'm hanging on the cliff right now.
Man, yeah, we were looking at state subsidy for childcare. We couldn't afford, having three small children. We're looking at $3,000 a month alone just in childcare. And we made basically too much to actually qualify for the subsidies, but not enough to pay for the childcare outright. So again, a lot of families find themselves in that, and kudos to you, Senator McKinney, for at least putting together a study for that.
I have a child care bill that's in committee. It's in HHS, so the same committee Senator McKinney is talking about with Senator Hardin, that created a state-based child care subsidy. Because you're right, Title 20, right, it's federal dollars. We put in some, but it has a cutoff, and they want you to be like dirt poor to afford it. But we know childcare is an issue for workforce, and like people that are middle income can't afford childcare. And so it created a payroll tax against businesses that would then make a state-based subsidy program on a sliding scale. So you can make $80,000 with a family of 3 and still get a subsidy that would just be aligned to like what your family needs, but still give you something. And it's modeled after Oregon, who has been really successful. They have 80% of their working families have childcare support, and they've seen a difference in growing their state economy and just families having the resources that they need. Like it has changed a lot of the environment. And so I modeled policy after that. And so I'm hoping that can come back up, because to your point, buddy, like people need childcare, and like I don't make not enough to get state, federal assistance, and then I don't make enough to actually afford it. So, what do I do?
Yeah.
And it's so bad, like people turn down promotions.
Yeah.
Or like it could be 25 cents that it puts somebody over and they'll lose everything.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. Man, I really appreciate that you guys are in there working on that stuff. I am thinking about succession plans. Marianne Williams in the chat says it's imperative to replace Gretna Senator Anderson in 2018, whether Senator McKinney runs again. You probably talking about 2028 or not, because he'll start stalking Senator Spivey and Roundtree next.
Oh, gee.
He already started.
Name
it
is
ain't
name.
as bad as McKinney though. It's not as bad.
Yeah, we seen them that footage. That definitely definitely gets riled up. And I'm glad somebody named some names around there, because it's that time. Session's over. I know you guys got to set up to work with folks next time, and you gotta watch what you do, watch what you say, because you're still in there working, you're still learning. That for me is the thing. I think that my world is everybody's a person of their word. Everybody is they stand on business, they stand on what they're about. I don't have nobody in my life that will say one thing, talking out the side of their neck all the time at me about everything. I just don't have it. So I couldn't imagine a room full of folks we're trying to get something done with that's on that level. So you guys got to learn not just the strategy, but the extra
But
ridiculous
I
part
think
of the
it's like
strategy.
two parts. So, like for Senator Anderson, he says what he means. It's racist, it's homophobic, right? Like it's all sexist, like it's those things, but his behaviors match his words. For example, when I was talking about my priority bill, there was a meeting of some of the lobbyists and community partners, myself and a couple senators. And there was like at the end of the session around this bill that we were filibustering and people were upset about because it was a part of this negotiation. And this senator said on the record, I was never part of the deal. I was never part of anything. And so I got on the mic and said, no, you were. You were there. I was there. These other four folks were there. And this was decided because my bill was part of a negotiation with the tax package and a part of this other package. Like that is like the not keeping your word, right? Like you said in that meeting with us, and that's what we discussed, and we all agreed, and that was the negotiation. And so if that changes, okay, but let me know. Don't act like that never happened. And like that is the hard part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough for me too. I can't stand when people act like we didn't have a conversation we had.
Man, how do you get anything done? How do you get anything done like that? It's just, yeah, kind of frustrating.
It is.
Want to go back to the chat? Somebody is kind of repeating something. They don't want to ignore them. Miss Helen says, "What about LB69? Can we get into that?"
About that? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. She said the black bill. What is that?
So I'm going to give this a little bit of airtime, but I don't like to give people a platform that don't need or deserve one. So I'm going to set that expectation now.
Okay.
So LB 69 was a bill that I carried, and it changed for the core meat of the bill, and it passed. So that it went on consent agenda and it passed. It's signed into law. And so it changed some of the structure of the African American Commission around meetings where people would meet in the most populous place. And then there was an amendment that was drafted in partnership with the executive leadership of the African American Commission representing the full commission around other changes like for reporting, some language cleanup, and all of that. And so a few people, three to be fair, have very specific feelings and views about the bill that have disparaged my name and Senator McKinney's name on the internet, have called me spineless Spivey and gutless McKinney. I've been a house Negro and a sellout, which I don't know what I'm benefiting from. And all these different things, right? So like very petty, messy things that I feel like is not appropriate because I have always offered my office to have a conversation because you don't have to agree with me. And I can be wrong. Absolutely. There's a way in which you do it and you have to bring me facts. I do not work in feelings. A lot of people have a lot of feelings and there's a lot of things that have to get done. And I need people to focus on that. And so no meeting was ever scheduled with my office or Senator McKinney's to discuss the big feelings that people had. And so that's probably what they are referring to. I'm not sure because, again, I don't give people a platform that are disrespectful and rude and are not solutions oriented. I also think that people need to focus on the issues that are at hand. There's been a lot of talk around the African American Commission and that Senator McKinney and myself are trying to dismantle the power of the Black folks in our community. And I feel like, and I'll speak for myself and I'll let Senator McKinney speak for him. But I would say our track records are very clear. Like the things that I have done in this community without acknowledgement, with acknowledgement is always for the betterment of Black folks. Like that is first and foremost. And again, if there were things that needed to be changed or addressed, I would have been happy to, but folks did not read the bill. And I think that there is some misclarity and aggression towards us, which is unfortunate because I have not seen people down there fighting like they should around locking our kids up or addressing housing issues. They took more money out of the Affordable Housing Trust, which we know that housing, especially in Black community, is so important. So like there are real issues, real things that I have not heard an email being sent. I ain't been copied on an email. I have not seen any of those things. Folks are not engaging in those, but they want to double down on the African American Commission as if I am trying to dismantle Black political power. And that could be further from the truth. And so, which is unfortunate, but I think it's a part of now I'm learning being an elected official. And so again, I am happy to continue to have respectful, solutions-based dialogue around what we need to do for our community. What I won't tolerate is disrespect at any time. I don't operate in that, and don't let being a senator fool you that I will. That's not how I operate, because that's not how I treat people either. And so again, it's unfortunate and it's desperate, and I hope that people can realign their energy and efforts to really addressing some of the things that we've talked about all season on the show and that we are constantly working on.
Feel that. Now I'm getting a real good glimpse of why it is that we vibe so hard on the stuff that we're doing here, because we're the same kind of thing, man. I don't. It's super childish to start calling names and being petty and being ridiculous, and not getting down to like, let's figure out what we're gonna do about it. I mean, if we don't do that, then what are we doing? You know, it's not a sport. I know that you've been putting up with it too, man. I always tune in sometimes to see you how tight you holding on to the desk when you're up there. So
I definitely bring him. I've been having my administrative aide bring him some tea. I'm like, you need some tea right now. What kind you want?
Woosa.
No, but I mean, it's sad. Honestly, I'm kind of used to it, especially after coming through all this LB 1024 stuff. I've been attacked and people then said some wild things about me that was far from the truth. And I've always stood on, like, I've always fought for North Omaha. That's why I ever ran for office. That's why I ever, tried to, even get involved in the community. So why would I wait to get to the legislature to try to do something to harm Black people? I'm a Black man first. Like, it'd be funny because I'm like, you really don't know me. Like, you clearly got a skewed viewpoint of me, but you clearly don't know who I am as an individual, as a person, as a father, a coach, a mentor. All like it'd be wild. But it's you know I've learned to kind of have stronger skin as far as like people who throw out stuff, and some people don't like how I reply to them, because if you're going to approach me from a disrespectful lens, I'm not gonna be disrespectful to you, but I'm gonna be just straightforward and just be super direct about it. Like, I ain't gonna disrespect you, but I'm gonna check you. Like, and I have no problem doing that, because once you make it a point or decide that who I am as a man is less than what I view myself as, and what I think a lot of people view me as, then I'm not about to just sit and sugarcoat with you and act kumbaya with you. I'm just not. But as far as the bill, the intent of the bill, honestly speaking, because I owe Ashley probably forever for it, but
I own your soul forever.
but but honestly speaking, it was to make sure that an African American commission that was created to, serve our people was actually doing its job. That's the point of the bill. The point of the bill is to make sure that we don't have a commission that's not doing outreach to senators, that's not doing the work for the people, the Black people in Nebraska. That is the sole point of the bill, and that's what it's always been. And when people say things, I'm like, we cannot be reading the same document, and we just can't, because how it's translating to them and what it's translating to me and Senator Spivey and others. Like, what are you talking about? And once you get to that point where, like, there's a lack of understanding, and or people just, in my opinion, deciding to run with these wild narratives, then it's like, why do we need to keep talking? Like, it's no point in it, because we're not going to get anywhere, and it's unproductive. It's way too much stuff going on with our community for us to be having these little petty fights. Like, they just passed a bill to lock up 11-year-olds. And you know what the 11-year-olds are thinking about? Black kids. That's what I'm worried about. Like, it's way too many issues,
So that I want to ask, we didn't really talk about that. That bill did pass.
Yes.
It passed. I will say for that bill, I really appreciate Senator McKinney's leadership. So he let me lead a lot of the conversation, and he and Senator Wayne had done a lot of work on juvenile justice reform, some of our other colleagues. And so I looked to him for guidance, and I feel like we were in the trenches together. I see you, baby. Like we were in the trenches together trying to fight this. And we made a very terrible, horrible bill, like regular terrible. And so, I mean, and sometimes that's the work. It's like we don't have the votes. So like, how can we make this less harmful? And then we keep coming back. And so from that conversation, the chair of judiciary, which Senator McKinney also sits on, said that she would be willing to do an interim study around that bill and the implications. They did remove the super predator language, and it talks about the type of juvenile probation versus labeling that kid in the same way. There's still access to data, which I think with the murder of J.I. and what we've seen is going to create more issues. Sheriff Hansen and OPA and Don Klein are behind that bill. And I think we need to have a conversation about how we use our vote. I think, like, isn't that the title of this session, right? Like, bullet or the ballot box. And so I think, like, how do we use our vote to change that? Because what we are seeing is the ripples of this kind of leadership in Douglas County. And so I'm just really thankful that I had Senator McKinney to help guide me and like understanding that. I called Senator Wayne, asked him lots of questions of what'd you do with LB 50? What happened with this? And, you know, trying to understand the context. And we're going to keep working on it outside of it passing now. So even though it will be law, we have the opportunity to continue to try to change and chip away at it, which it is on our radar and will not go away.
Incredible. Appreciate it. Mama God in the chat saying, I find the untrustworthy and unreliable behaviors flow in so many spaces which deters real progress in our society. That often holds us back as people even more. So sad. We love you, senators.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mama
that.
God. And if I could say something to that, I think for me, the hard part is that we need to think about how we're in the right relationship with each other. So, for example, at IB Black Girl, we use a framework called Beloved Community. And we had Ubuntu Research and Evaluation out of Milwaukee, a Black futurist eval organization, come do this work with us intentionally because we know that we are conditioned in the same systems that create supremacy culture, right? And so they talk about, in Martin Luther King Jr. Kind of has the principles, Bell Hooks codified it. And like, here are the tenets of how you navigate with each other through love. And what does that look like to have restorative qualities? How do you disagree? How are you in the right relationships? And I feel as though in my experience so far in this session, it's not the majority experience, but I have had from our community that we're not situated in beloved community. We're not thinking about how do we love someone through something that could be difficult or discourse. It feels in a way very malicious. And I think it's, again, what we're programmed to do. So people want to do work in our community, but you haven't decolonized your approach. So the same thing that you're complaining about other people doing, you're doing it, but you're just Black. And so I think for me, that has been like the realization is that we as a community, as a people, have a lot of work to continue to do around healing and how do we stay in the right relationships with each other, even when we disagree or even when we have to find and have a hard conversation. There's things that we could be doing differently and showing up that still models behavior that is rooted in love and liberation. And again, I just don't always think it's there at the forefront, which has been difficult to me because I love my community down. And so I think just trying to figure that out, you know, is important.
Senator McKinney, since you've been there a little bit longer, I wanted to ask you a question about, in context of what's been going on. I've been the reason why I'm looking as tired as I am because I was up all weekend on the phone with people out in L.A., family, friends, people that are going through it, and understanding. You know, we're talking about this all the time now. We're understanding what state we're in, what's going on in the world right now, correlating things that are happening in places like LA with right here in Omaha. It's been a heavy couple weeks period, just for our community, just for our people. And I wonder about, you the one that kind of really taught me that we don't need to be really resting on anyone or any group of politicians. That's just one piece of the puzzle. We have to depend on ourselves and make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, taking care of self first, and so on, and taking care of our people on the grassroots level, and utilizing people in the seats when we can. But it's so as far as like from the legislative side of things, from where your seat is, I know that you're battling everything on that side of things. How do you feel like the fight is going? Where do you feel like we are as a people, especially here in our community, this community here, in comparison to the rest of the world, the rest of the country right now?
I would say if I was to give it a grade, I would give it a probably, just being honest, probably a C minus.
Okay.
And I say that because we got a lot of keyboard warriors. We got a lot of Facebook warriors. We have a lot of people who got strong opinions, and that's cool. Like I was once somebody who was on Facebook typing up a storm, saying how I felt. But at the end of the day, and people always like to reference the past, the young people in the past, the old people in the past, they was getting in the streets. And yes, we do have people who are like we got Sherman, we got Kasim, we got a lot Tamika, we got a lot of people that are doing great work in our community. But especially when I think about the legislature, especially with bills that are pertaining to black people, ain't nobody showing up like they should. And I've said it multiple times, you could have a room full of cops on a bill that's gonna lock up our kids, but we don't have that same fight, on a lot of issues. And I don't blame the people because I understand it. I understand why. I'm not saying it's acceptable or that we should just be like, oh, that's cool. It's just how it is. But I think we have to get better at, you know, being a village. People always hear it takes a village to do this, to do that. But at the end of the day, we're literally not we're literally riling people up and then one person walking in the room. And I didn't understand how Ernie felt because he said some things to me when I first got in that at the time I was like, okay, because he was like, basically said like, people gonna expect the world of you, but they ain't gonna show up for you. That's what he said in a nutshell. Um, and I was like, okay, but it didn't hit me until I started introducing bills and I've been in the legislature for so long and I understand. And I think that's why he may have became the way he became because he was like, well, if I'm doing all this work, yes, people is praising me, yeah, Senator Chambers, like you're a great man, you're doing great work. But when it comes down to the fight, and I think that's why he took his approach he took, where he had to be defensive, because he was like, if I think he probably felt like if I be offensive, what's the use? Who's coming to help me?
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's like
So
me and what army?
right, so I don't know, I would give it a C minus. I mean, it's good to see people. I know people feel a way about what they did at that empowerment meeting, but I think it was needed. I think people need to understand that everybody got to stop playing in our faces, and it's we're talking about real lives. We ain't talking about people just getting arrested. It's deaths right now,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
family members losing family members, and just saying like let's collaborate. I can't collaborate with you if there's no reconciliation. There's no atonement for what happened. Like it's hard to do, especially in that moment when tempers are high. So I just say, we still got a lot of work to do, but it's work being done. But
I think there's a good point. I know you told me don't read the chat. I've been reading some of the chat. And Tony put in there just about staying neutral for funding. And I think that is the larger conversation, maybe too, Paul, that like is the opportunity of like, what is this ecosystem that we're working in, right? So the elected officials are part of it. How do we organize as a community? What do those tools look like? And like philanthropy as a part of that. And so, like, if people have to stay neutral for funding so that they can continue to do their work, they're not going to be as successful or vocal in that same way, right? Like, and so all of these systems play together intentionally. And I think what has been missing, I don't think we need another plan, but it's like a comprehensive approach and conversations that allow for everyone to play their role. So the people that may have to stay more neutral for funding, cool, we understand that. And how are you showing up on this other piece? What does this look like over here? Who can step in when you can't? Like that is not happening where everyone is playing their part. Sometimes it feels like people are taking up a lot of and co-opting a lot of space because they want it for them and not necessarily like the outcome of the work. and what's really in front of us. And so I think that can also be difficult, and we don't necessarily lean into those conversations and again have those hard conversations as a community. And then the other thing that I will uplift is that Senator McKinney and I are hosting and getting Black elected officials together over Omaha Days. And so
Nice.
in the Ivy Black Girl Courtyard, we rented it out, so it's no conflict of interest, folks that are watching. We will have a Black elected meet and greet. And so we have invited all of Black elected officials. All Black elected officials are in Omaha and Lincoln. And so for Omaha Days, of course, we only invited Omaha. And so people can get an opportunity at all levels of government and governance to like just know who is there, what do they care about. And so we will have a post about it so that folks can stop by, because I know it is difficult. I think Tony said in that message, like folks are working, like we know that this is inaccessible intentionally. And so we want to make sure that at least we are helping to try to create more access. And so we will have that, which I think, again, will help to start some of these conversations in maybe a more safe environment, right? Like it's not at a hearing or it's not in someone's office, but like we're enjoying food. It's a celebration week, you know, so then people can engage a little bit differently.
So you guys have been getting good response from some people, the elected officials, about coming?
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Nice.
They ready to do it this time?
Yeah, we have that. We already have a meeting set up with Mayor-elect around Omaha and just what does that look like. We're going to host in partnership with the African American Commission, elected official like half-day summit, a policy summit in the fall. So I mean, like, again, I think from sometimes people don't see the work that's happening, but I can say Senator McKinney and myself have been really intentional about those touch and base. How do we build these spaces? He started to convene Black elected officials first. Like that was his idea. And, you know, we had our meeting, and then now after the election, we'll meet again. So, I mean, we are working on it.
What do you hope to accomplish there with this meeting? What does solidarity look like? I know that's the goal. So what would it look like, everybody together?
I mean, I don't expect us all to ever agree on everything. Like that's not natural. But what I hope is that we just have a mutual understanding that we could get in a room and we could talk about what each other is doing, because it might be something happening on the city level that I should know that is happening or coming up that I need to be paying attention to, and especially when our districts are overlapping, we should know what's going on the school board level, the city level, the county level, the OP, like whatever level it is. It shouldn't be a reason for us not to for us to be out the loop with each other, because then people come to us as elected officials and ask us about stuff that I get a lot of questions that pertain to city council all the time. And if we don't got that relationship, then I don't know how to, you know, properly answer that question without saying you need to just go to the city council person.
Yeah, I understand. That makes sense. Yeah.
And then people feel like they getting a runaround because it's like I asked this person, they tell me to go see them. I talked to them, they didn't even answer the phone. It's like then I just completely disengage. So yeah. Hopefully more cohesion and collaboration comes out of that.
And I think the other big thing is that, you know, to show our community that the people who they've put in position as leaders can work together.
Man, that's important.
Because how can we say we want the village to work, right? But the people who are responsible for leading the village as representatives are not working together.
Yeah, and you just tend to think how much further will a bill go if the county commissioner and the mayor and everybody is actually present to support that bill.
Yeah, and I think that's the unique opportunity now with us having a mayor-elect who wants to invest in North and South Omaha. I know originally when the former administration was still in office, and I just got a look and I was like, hey, I need to understand the economic development plan for District 13, which is all Northeast and Northwest Omaha, right? So split between me and Senator McKinney's district, and there was no plan. There was no plan. I could not get anything. It was tough to work with their office. And so I think what I am hopeful for is that the tone has already been set, that will be different, that there will be intentional economic development, that we can have some of these conversations. I had a situation with Miller Park and that I needed some support on from city council and mayor-elect and folks, and I was able to take care of it and, you know, work through. So I think, you know, that's to me how you get stuff done. It's not always just the legislation. Like I have a lot of inherent power and social capital now because I'm a senator. So how can we use that to create effective, transformative change for our community? And that is building relationships and working with folks that also are in charge of a lot of the things and have oversight of the things that we care about. And so think about the bedbug bill, right? So Senator McKinney working with city council and mayor-elect to get that addressed, or the slumlord issue that we have in our districts. Like, there's just a lot more opportunity if we have really strong working relationships, even if we disagree and it's tough. Again, if we have a strong working relationship and we have the same goal at the end of the day, then I think we'll be able to accomplish more.
Right.
What's up?
He is mayor-elect until 6 p.m. tonight, and then
Hey,
it's
6
just
p.m.
yeah,
So about an hour. About an hour.
Yeah, well, I think it starts at 7, but yeah, mayor-elect until 7, and then he is Mayor Ewing.
Hey, put some respect on his name. You did mention somebody else asked a question in the chat that you kind of touched on as far as the Omaha poverty reduction plan. Paul Philman was asking about that earlier. He says, what's the plan on wraparound services? I know Senator McKinney, you were kind of instrumental in that, but either Senator.
So I'm supposed to be getting an update from the city about the poverty elimination action plan. It's supposed to be done this month, but I'm sure with the transition, it's probably being held up a little bit as far as like releasing it. They haven't shared it with me yet, but once they do, I'll share it out. But also, I introduced an interim study for the city and Lincoln to come in and present both of their plans to the Urban Affairs Committee so we could take a deeper dive into them. And
Okay.
then after we have the plans, because my overall like plan was to get this poverty elimination action plan, look at the results, and then begin to tailor legislation based off of what came out of that.
Well, we got a few minutes. Yeah. And hopefully with Senator or Mayor-elect Ewing identifying poverty and economics as kind of his top priority, hopefully we'll actually get some headway and get some real steps forward on that. We got just a few minutes left in this thing, kind of wrapping it up. I did have one last question before we get out of here. The budget, of course, that's a big thing. The budget wrapped up a lot of questions. I know it's a big one, so without getting too deep into it, wondering any comments about special sessions, any whispers about special
So
sessions.
we do have a balanced budget at this time. It's going to make a difference what happens at the federal level, and some of the tools that we use to balance the budget, if they're actually approved at the federal level, and that will determine if we're in a special session or if we just address it in January. But I would say there is a high likely possibility that we will be addressing all of the things that we did in this session that did not allow for us to be fiscally sustainable.
Okay. Well,
I can't wait to figure out what that means.
Yeah. We'll keep our eyes.
We're just in a whole bunch of trouble, Paul B. So it's gonna hit the fan in January.
Okay. Slippery slope.
That's what I'm thinking. Appreciate it for those of you that have joined us for this special hour in the middle of the day here. We are joined with the very last session here with the Senator Cypher with Senator Terrell McKinney, Senator Ashlei Spivey, who's been with us now all season. And Senator McKinney, you've been with us for a couple of years now. So you've been, man. People have been telling me all around that nobody's able to hear from senators like they're able to hear from senators on this show. So we really appreciate you guys doing that. I hope you come back for next season as well. But this is it, man. I saw you guys take the class picture here. The session's over. Yeah, man. It's done deal, and I'm sure that you'll be able to. The break on the break. Last time I learned that sometimes you got to go back to the session on the break. See, is that you anticipating having to do that this time around?
I probably won't be. Well, I don't got an office right now. My office is so they moved my office, but the office they're moving me to is under construction. So I won't have an office until
they did that on purpose.
Sometime in August. So I don't plan to be in Lincoln a lot. I have some trips I have to go on. Like tomorrow, I'm going to DC to go to Capitol Hill to talk to some Congress people about all the stuff they're trying to do with Medicaid and stuff like that with the National Black State Legislative Council, and then some other trips and getting back into school. So I don't plan to be down there. Plus, I don't want to be down there because it's traumatizing.
Man, laughing but serious. Laughing but very serious.
Well, and I can also say it's Juneteenth on Saturday. Hey,
Yes.
so we'll be in the parade, and then myself, Senator McKinney, and Senator Roundtree will have a table at the Juneteenth festival at Malcolm X from 2 to 4.
Nice.
So come meet and just talk to us. We'll have some giveaways, and so we will have that as well outside of Omaha Days.
There you
Sounds
go.
good.
There
That's
you
a
go.
great idea. Yeah.
Amongst the people. Love it.
Mhm.
Love it.
Well, stay tuned for our Chad Chimers kickback that we're gonna be having over the summer. Buddy will be in town, and so y'all
Yeah,
get
what
ready to
time?
get down on the
Can it be
Domino's
like
table
during
with
the day? I be tired.
Oh,
during,
yeah.
during the day.
Yeah, can it be like a 1
day
to 3
party?
situated? Yeah, like a party feels heavy too. You know, like I just want to be able to wear like
Music
regular
kickback.
clothes, and yeah, can I bring my kids so they can run around?
Absolutely,
Kickback.
it's
Okay, yeah.
always a
Yeah,
family affair
kickback,
with us.
yes.
Well, that's what it's called. It's called Chad Chimers kickback. That's what we do.
Yeah,
Barbecue.
yeah.
You know, kind of early in the day. Bring the
No
kids.
pork, right?
No,
Say again?
no swine. No swine. No swine.
Okay.
No swine. No swine.
This is Pill and State. Now let me get started. Mama Guy says, do you have someone you can put that up on First Sky so constituents can rally behind you on that important journey? Which journey are you talking about, Mama
I think
Guy?
she's talking about Senator McKinney going to DC. Is that?
Oh yeah, man.
Um,
Bring your blog camera with you.
yeah, I'll probably post some stuff. Yeah, they
I
got
feel
us
like
media
Paul, you
people
need to
walking
get you
around.
a travel budget so you can go and do your video and all your stuff.
I just need a regular budget before I get a travel budget. So Terry Crawford says, good to see you both. Looking forward to rolling up our sleeves and working through community issues together. Peace and power. That's what's up. Love that.
Peace.
Love that. Yeah, appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that has joined us today on this special occasion. And again, man, I really want to thank you guys. You got the emails from me like, look, I need y'all sitting in front of the camera and not driving in the car. But don't get it twisted. I understand like how dedicated you guys were to be driving up to the legislature, still being on the show. I can't tell you how much I appreciate y'all because it really is enhances everything that we're trying to do, and it you make me feel like this show is valuable just because of your presence.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it really is. You think about how many, like the information getting out to community, y'all have the validity, you're a trusted source, so I appreciate y'all making space so that we can come talk about all the things and have like honest and transparent conversations. So I really appreciate this platform from like a community news perspective. I think it's needed, especially in this time. So thank y'all for what y'all do.
man, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Receive.
Appreciate that.
Receive.
Well, we will see you soon. Like I said, we'll keep it posted. We'll be out there for the things that you guys got going on. I'm sure we'll come by the booth during Juneteenth, and like I said, stay tuned for kickback and all the things that we got coming up as well. But thank you so much. Any final words from you guys before we get out of here?
Just thank y'all, and to the community, just thank y'all for the support. You got any questions? Although we're in the interim, just reach out, and although we're not in session, we still make time to communicate with the people. So as much as possible, if you got any questions or concerns, just reach out.
Appreciate that.
Yep, I +1 that. And the only thing that I would add is for folks starting to think about legislation next year, like reach out to our offices because we can do a lot of that work in this period, like a lot of the research, figuring out language. So don't wait till December. Come talk and start talking now.
Man. Big time.
Love it. Thank you so much, you guys. Any last words for you, buddy?
Last Senator Cypher of the season, y'all. Last Senator Cypher of the season. We are going on break after this week, but we will be back mid-July. Of course, still look out for a weekly wrap that will continue throughout the break as we still try to, reach out and let the people know what's going on and continue to read between the lines and contextualize as we like to do. So again, man, we appreciate you two senators for taking the time, as Paul mentioned, out of your busy schedule, your dedication to informing the people, speaking to the people is not unseen or unfelt. So again, we appreciate it. And without further ado, Paul B.
Yo.
Two more episodes left in the season, man. This thing of ours continues, and I love it. Any last words as we get out of here?
Yeah, man. I was watching The Chi last week, and I was like, on my break, I'm gonna write this whole show about the legislature because y'all got that much drama going on.
So, love and legislature.
There you go. I like that.
That's what's up. We'll get out of here. Shout out to the Umaha tribe elders for allowing us to be on this land and speak while we're here. Shout out to our elders for allowing us to speak before you. And shout out to you, the chat chimers, always coming in with the great comments, with the great questions, and just allowing us to speak with you on these subjects. Again, join us again. You got me all discombobulated. It's Monday? Yeah, this is Monday.
Man,
Monday in the evening time. So,
This 4:00 is really throwing you, Paul.
Oh,
if only y'all knew.
Man, if only there's this gap in Musicians Day where it's like from noon to 5, we should be asleep. We should be asleep because from 6 on all night long it's going down. So what it is. Mama God got a better name, Lies and Legislature. I like that. Lies.
As the legislature turns.
Yes.
Young in the legislature.
We doing it. The names will be changed to protect the innocent, but it's going down. All right, y'all. You gotta have a good one. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon.
Peace.
Peace.
By the way, Vanguard. This is protected by the red, the black, and the green. At the crossroad, with the key.
By any means necessary.